Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to completely rewrite basically everything you thought you knew about the origins of the world's most popular sport. We're talking about the beautiful game, association football. Now, whether you're a diehard fan who literally never misses a weekend match or, someone who just tunes in for the World Cup, the story of how this game actually took its modern shape is absolutely fascinating.
So let's dive right into this by asking a deceptively simple question. When and where do you think the modern game was actually born? Right, if you Google it or read your standard sports history books, you're almost definitely going to see a specific date pop up, 1863. And usually that's accompanied by the founding of the London Football Association. But what if I told you that date and that exact location are really only half the story?
And this brilliantly illustrates our first major misconception. While everyone credits that 1863 London FA for creating football as we know it, the London game back then was actually this chaotic, almost rugby-like dribbling contest. Players would basically just put their heads down and dribble individually, while teammates sort of just backed them up in case they lost the ball. The true modern game, that expansive, beautiful passing game we recognize today, was actually being forged up north in Sheffield, starting way back in 1858.
The story really starts with two keen Yorkshire cricketers, Nathaniel Creswick and William Prest. During the freezing winter months of 1855, these two guys wanted a way to keep their cricket teammates fit when it was just way too cold to play. So they started organizing these informal football matches. Creswick was a solicitor from a silver plating family, and Prest ran a wine merchant's. But their true, undeniable shared passion was sport.
Well, they pretty quickly realized they needed some actual structure for these informal kickabouts. So on October 24th, 1857, at Parkfield House in the Highfield suburb, they officially formed Sheffield FC. And yes, this officially makes Sheffield FC the world's very first football club. Now, in those really early days, they didn't even have other clubs to play against. So get this, they picked teams using completely arbitrary trivialities. We're talking married man versus single man, or dividing teams up by the first half of the alphabet against the rest. It's brilliant.
What followed was an incredibly rapid two-decade evolution. Between 1857 and 1889, the Sheffield region became an absolute hotbed for football. I mean, they boasted an astonishing 95 different football clubs. They weren't just playing the game, they were innovating at a truly blistering pace, going from a single club all the way to a unified national code in just 20 years.
To govern their brand new club and really expand their impact, Creswick and Prest met up at the Adelphi Hotel, which, fun little side note, is actually exactly where the famous Crucible Theater stands today. Anyway, there, on October 28, 1858, they drafted the very first iteration of the Sheffield Rules. They put pen to paper and committed to the written word the laws that regulated their specific game, essentially drawing up one of the very first and longest surviving official sets of laws for the game of football.
Now, what's genuinely fascinating is exactly what was in those written rules. The next time you're screaming at the television for a corner kick or cheering an equalizer bouncing off the crossbar in the 90th minute, well, you have Sheffield to thank. They literally invented almost all of our modern staples. Free kicks for fouls, throw-ins, goal kicks, changing ends at halftime, standardizing on 11 players a side, and fixing matches at exactly 90 minutes. It all comes directly from Sheffield. Crazy, right?
So, what was the crucial difference between the two cities? Well, because Sheffield lacked London's incredibly strict offside rule, which, by the way, basically prevented forward passing altogether, the Sheffield game naturally evolved in a completely different direction. Actually, scratch that. It didn't just evolve, it revolutionized the sport. They invented forward passing, heading the ball, and tactical team formation spread across the pitch. They completely moved away from just a massive swarm of players chasing one guy dribbling. They really created the modern flow of the game.
As these rules caught on, rivalries naturally sparked up, and this led to the world's very first local football derby on Boxing Day 1860, played over at Sandygate Road. Sheffield FC actually beat the newly formed Hallam FC 2-0. And the kicker? They did it while playing with fewer men on the pitch. These matches took on a really special significance and became widely known as the Rules Derby, simply because they were governed by those unique Sheffield rules.
But let's be totally clear here. It wasn't always a polite gentleman's game. Just days after that first derby, on December 29th, a match at Brummel Lane devolved into sheer chaos. A punch thrown at Sheffield's Nathaniel Creswick by a Hallam player sparked the absolutely infamous Battle of Brummel Lane. It turned into this massive general riot involving the players and even the spectators. It perfectly highlights the fierce, raw passion of the early game. It spread like wildfire.
By 1867, the Sheffield clubs were totally organized and ready for a formal, high-stakes competition. But, as we all know, putting on a tournament takes money. So can you guess who stepped up to fund the world's very first football tournament? I'll give you a hint. It wasn't some wealthy aristocrat or an early sports brand.
In this truly bizarre twist of history, the Uden Cup was actually sponsored by Thomas Uden, a local theater owner. His Surrey Music Hall that recently burned down, and he essentially invented sports sponsorship right then and there to raise money and awareness for his business while recovering from the fire. The tournament featured 12 local sides, and Hallam FC took home the trophy in front of a world record crowd of 3,000 people at Bramall Lane.
As football expanded rapidly throughout the 1870s, a major clash emerged. You had the London FA, which obviously had the prestige of the newly created FA Cup, squaring off against the Sheffield rules, which were incredibly popular and widely played all across the North and Midlands. For a while, London and Sheffield teams would even play inter-association matches, and they constantly had to agree beforehand on which set of rules to even use, a total logistical nightmare. By April 1877, it was totally clear that having two separate sets of rules was just completely impractical. So the tension was finally resolved thanks to a Scottish compromise suggested by Clydesdale FC over how throw-in should work. This successfully merged the FA and Sheffield laws. One didn't just absorb the other, they truly amalgamated. The FA adopted Sheffield's expansive innovations, giving us the unified code we play today.
But as this newly unified game exploded globally, a massive shift occurred. Money entered the sport. In 1876, Sheffield Wednesday effectively began paying a player named James Lang, and by 1885, the FA officially legalized professional pay. So as all these northern clubs willingly started paying their finest players a regular wage, Sheffield FC, the club that started the whole shebang, faced a massive existential crisis.
Despite the massive surge in professionalism all around them, Sheffield FC unanimously rejected paying their players. They had been founded under the banner of three absolutely resolute values: integrity, respect, community. They saw zero scenario where they could shed their amateur status while still holding on to their founding principles. So, they made the incredibly difficult choice to just drop down the regional leagues. They essentially sacrificed on-field glory to stay completely true to who they were.
Now, their steadfast dedication and historical impact certainly haven't been forgotten. To celebrate 100 years of international football back in 2004, FIFA awarded the incredibly rare Order of Merit. They gave it to exactly 2 teams in the entire world for their historic importance and contributions to the game. Those 2 teams? The Galacticos of Real Madrid and 8th-tier Sheffield FC. Honestly, an absolutely breathtaking contrast.
That incredible legacy continues to drive exactly what Sheffield FC is doing today. Currently playing in the 8th tier of the English football pyramid, their modern mission is incredibly pure. They are actively fighting to protect their amateur roots. They're raising funds to rebuild their original Olive Grove Stadium to physically bring the club back to the exact field where it was founded in 1857. And they strive to act as a home for the global family tree of football pioneers.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. In a modern sporting world, completely dominated by billion-dollar leagues, astronomical television rights, and mega contracts, does the true, original spirit of the beautiful game still live quietly in the amateur ranks of Sheffield? I highly encourage you to read more about these pioneers. And hey, the next time you watch a match, remember the incredible legacy of 1858.